सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ओम। फर्स्ट मंत्र। द्वा सुपर्णा सयुजा सखाया द्वा सुपर्णा सयुजा सखाया समानं वृक्षं परिषस्वजाते समानं वृक्षं परिषस्वजाते तयोरन्यं पिप्पलं स्वाद्वत्ति त्वयोरन्यं पिप्पलं स्वाद्वत्ति अनश्नन्नन्यो अभिचाकशीति अनश्नन्नन्यो अभिचाकशीति। द्वा सुपर्णा सयुजा सखाया समानं वृक्षं परिषस्वजाते द्वा सुपर्णा सयुजा सखाया समानं वृक्षं परिषस्वजाते तयोरन्यं पिप्पलं स्वाद्वत्ति तयोरन्यं पिप्पलं स्वाद्वत्ति अनश्नन्यो अभिचाकशीति अनश्नन्यो अभिचाकशीति तयोरन्यं पिप्पलं स्वाद्वत्ति अनश्नन्यो अभिचाकशीति तयोरन्यं पिप्पलं स्वाद्वत्ति अनश्नन्यो अभिचाकशीति। That imagery of two birds about which we discussed last time. Samanam vruksham parishasvajate. They are perching, they are perched on the same tree. Here the tree is Sthula Sharira. They are staying on the same tree. They are perching on the same tree. The tree is Sthula Sharira. So in the Sthula Sharira, there are two birds. Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakaya. The beautiful birds with the Suparna, beautiful wings, shining wings. And Sayuja Sakaya. They are both always together, and both of them have the same origin. They are together and having the same origin, perching on this tree. The body is equated to Vriksha. Vriksha means that which can be cut asunder. You know, Vrishanath Vriksha, that which can remove it, either from the roots or you can cut it from in between. So both things are applicable. So it is not physical cutting of the body. It is uprooting the ignorance that which is the cause, which is the root of this body. And therefore, it is equated to Vruksha. And generally, it is called Ashwatha Vruksha because it may or may not be there tomorrow. Swaha means tomorrow. Shwattaha means that which remains tomorrow. Ashwattaha, that which is not going to be tomorrow. And this is a body where they are there. And what are these two birds? You can say in a known words, one is Ishvara and another is Jiva. Okay, Ishvara and Jiva. One is that the Ishvara, one who is conditioned by Maya. Mayopadi Chaitanya Ishvara. And Jiva is the one who is conditioned by Avidya. Avidyopadi Chaitanya is a Jiva. Tayoranyaha Swadvati. Generally, Anyaha means another. Here, Anyaha means one of them. Okay? Because Anya word comes twice. Tayoranyaha Pippalam Swadu Asti and Anashnan Anyaha. Okay? So, one of them. Anyaha means not other, but one of them. Pippalam Swaduvati. Vividly experiences varied fruits of the tree, And what are the fruits? Different emotions, different feelings, different experiences. In simple words, you can say experiences of happiness and unhappiness. That's all that is good, So, and the one who eats experiences, that means eating is possible only when the fellow has an appetite. Who will eat the food? One has appetite, like our cows. When we feed them, one of them will not eat anything because she doesn't have an appetite. Rest of them will finish it off quickly because there is a strong appetite. So one who eats the fruits, that means he has an appetite. Appetite means there is a need, there is a hunger to eat the fruits. Primarily, the hunger is to eat happiness, to gain happiness. He wants to gain happiness. So he is looking for those fruits. But unfortunately, some of them give him unhappiness also. Every time it is not delicious result. And Shankaracharya ji writes this, Anashnan anyo avichakashiti Vippalam Swaduvati, he eats out of indiscrimination, aviveka, doesn't know that what I am trying to eat and gain happiness certainly will give me unhappiness. And in us, that appetite for happiness keeps that fellow on the go, Jivatma, seeking varieties of experiences to be happy and complete. Anashnananyo avichaksh, and one of them, it doesn't experience anything. That another one is the truth of this first word. That means Anyaha, who doesn't eat, who is a effulgent witness, conscious witness. That fellow is the very essence of the other bird who is eating and wanting to eat and undergoes varieties of experiences. So that fellow is the Sakshi. Why he doesn't eat? Because he cannot eat. He being a Purna, being formless, being all pervasive, he cannot eat. And Anyaha Avichakash, the other one eats because of him. Does he really prompt him? Does he really motivate him? Does he command him? Does he push him? No. The one who eats is the eater, the experiencer, has a capacity to experience only when that jiva is blessed by Paramatma. Blessed in terms of satta spurti pradata. It gives it the very existence, very sentiency to that jiva. And this fellow is just there, not motivating, not pushing, not ordering, nothing. How? Then he says, there are two examples given in Shastra. One is like the sun. When there is a sun in the horizon, by mere presence of the sun, the world wakes up. By mere presence of the sun, world keeps doing activity. They start working on that. And all birds, birds kingdom, animal kingdom, plant kingdom, as though become live because of that sun. By mere presence, sun becomes the cause of waking up the world. Sun becomes the cause of, you can say, sort of making them sentient and movement of the world. That is by mere presence. Sun doesn't do anything. And then this jiva himself is conscious because the consciousness is borrowed from the self. The consciousness is borrowed from the self, and that sentiency expresses as ahankara. It gets reflected in a sukshma sharira, and somehow that anirvachaniya magnana is a cause by which this fellow starts thinking that I am jiva. The status of being jiva means kartrutva bhoktrutva, the doership and enjoyership. The sense of doership and enjoyership centered on I is primarily out of ignorance. It is not real. It is incidental. As long as there is antahkarana upahita chaitanyam, the consciousness conditioned by this antahkaranam, the sahaja tadatma is there, and therefore ahankara, doership and the enjoyership is there. How to be free? The answer is know it to be mithya. The doership and enjoyership is superimposed on the consciousness. The jivatma is nothing but the superimposition upon Paramatma. Please understand that. But this superimposition is of different type. It is not like rope and snake. If it were like rope and snake, the snake is superimposed on the rope. So once you know the rope, the snake disappears. No. This is a peculiar superimposition. Ahankara is like, as Swamiji would say, pot and the clay. Even if when you know pot is clay, but still pot continues to exist, it is useful also. In this vihvara, transactionally, what fetches water is only pot. Clay cannot fetch the water anyway. But at the same time, it is because of the clay, pot is able to fetch the water. Clay per se cannot fetch the water. It will not hold the water. But the pot is able to hold the water, it is only because of the clay. So pot has some empirical reality, even after knowing that it is clay. That similarly, ahankara, that kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam is mithya. But even after the knowledge that mithya has some empirical reality to conduct myself, transact myself in the world, that ahankara will be there. But then it is not that once I gain the knowledge, there is no ego at all, no individuality. That is not the case. So that ahankara is mithya to be known. Wise person also has ahankara. But that, as the Shastric jargon, they call it badhitam. It is mithya, apparent. He or she knows that it is apparent. And then continues the way one has to conduct in the vihvara. And they pursue that. Now, just for information and little clarity, where the confusion comes. Now, these Dvaitacharyas, those who talk of Dvaita, they say that Ishvara is in heaven and he is sitting in heaven and watching everybody. Why does he watch? You cannot escape him. You know, the CCTV cameras are there at every place and every corner, nook and corner. So Swamiji would say, he doesn't give you privacy. And then he watches you out of love, you know, and so, and then he gives punishments and showers the grace. They don't see the Shastra, which clearly said, you know, There is only one Brahman. The Jivatma is apparent. If the Jivatma is real, that means Sarvam Khaluvidam Brahma, it doesn't hold good. It means Brahman is not limitless, because Jivatma is the real individual. That is real, it is something to be controlled, something to be regulated, something to be punished, someone to be favored. The Jivatma, if it is real, in that case, Ishvara will no more be Ishvara. Limitlessness cannot be its nature. So we have to understand it is a mithya. Anashnana vichakashiti doesn't do anything. Bhagavan says in Gita, Nadatte kasyachit papam nachaivam sukrutam vibhu. It doesn't give papa or punya. Sangha. Naiva kinchit karoti. Doesn't do anything. So this Dvaita Shastra often, Shastra followers, those who believe in duality, often quote this mantra, saying that there are two, Jiva and Ishvara, but they fail to see that the two is mentioned to make you understand there is only one non-dual. The next mantra it will come. It is not to establish the duality. It is to negate the duality. Duality is accepted at the moment. Whenever Shastra talks of some duality, that means it accepts for the time being. And ultimately, it is to be discovered. The vision of the Shastra is to negate the duality ultimately. There is no duality whatsoever. And that being a case, there is no real Ishvara sitting in heaven and watching and punishing you. In that sense, what they say. There is Ishvara, but it is a Vyavaharik Satta. Okay, let's continue. Another mantra. Number 2. Samane vrukshe purusho nimagnaha. Samane vrukshe purusho nimagnaha. Anishaya shochati muhyamanaha. Anishaya shochati muhyamanaha. Yajustam yatha pasyatyanyamisham. Justam yatha pasyatyanyamisham. Asya mahimanamiti vita shokaha. Asya mahimanamiti vita shokaha. Samane vrukshe purusho nimagnaha. Anishaya shochati muhyamanaha. Samane vrukshe purusho nimagnaha. Anishaya shochati muhyamanaha. Justam yatha pasyatyanyamisham. Justam yatha pasyatyanyamisham. Asya mahimanamiti vita shokaha. Asya mahimanamiti vita shokaha. Samane vrukshe purushaha nimagnaha. Samane vrukshe, on the same tree. In the same tree. Purushaha means the person, the jiva, nimagnaha, keeps on sinking. Sometimes comes out and sometimes sinks. Acha. Anishaya shochati muhyamana. That fellow grieves, shochati. Why? Deluded fellow. The deluded fellow grieves. For what reason? Anishaya. Due to the sense of helplessness centered on I. This jiva, these two birds are perching on the same tree. They are there, and among there, one of them is Anishaya shochati muhyamanaha. Is a nimagna. That one of them is sinking and grieving. Why? Anishaya. Because of helplessness, because of delusion. And then it says, Justam yatha pasyatyanyamisham. When he recognizes, pashyati means in the sense of recognition. Anyamisham, he recognizes the other one as the Isham. The Isham means, and what is that? Jushtam. Jushtam Isham. Jushtam means the most worshipful, the most adorable, most respected. As he understands the other one as that, and then knows his glory, Mahimanam, and then he becomes Vitashokaha, free from grief. Okay. Samane Vrukshe Purushaha Nimagnaha. On the same tree, this person is sinking. Okay. Sinking because of what? Or how? That who is sinking? Bhokta, Jiva. Who is that Jiva? Avidya, Kama, Karma, Phala, Ragadi, Guru, Bharakranta. That Jiva is sinking because of the load, heavy load that he is carrying. Overloaded ship will sink, a little bit when pressure comes. So that being overloaded by what? Ignorance. Ignorance caused a sense of doership and enjoyership, and there caused raga, dvesha, karma phalas, etc. That is a guru bhar. This is a heavy load, and therefore he keeps on sinking. Acha, how does it sinking? And why does it sinking? So deha bhava mapannaha, he has become identified with the body mind complex. Sense of being this much only, there is there with him. And what does he think himself? He says, Putroham asya napta krushaha sthulaha gunavan nirgunaha sukhi dukhi ityevam pratyaha nasti anyaha asmaditi jayate mriyate sanyujyate viyujyate cha sambandhi bandhavandhavai. That fellow is sinking because of this dehatma bhava. The sense of I-ness in the gross body and subtle body, and then he thinks, I am the son of so-and-so, grandson of so-and-so, I am lean, I am krushaha, I am sthula, I am fat, gunavan, I am very qualified, having a lot of virtues, and I have a lot of limitations, and they're going to have no virtues, then I am sukhi, I am dukhi, ityadi. And I am not anything other than this. There is a confounded conclusion that I am this only, no one else. And that way, that is a notion because of which jayate mriyate, he is born again and again and dies again and again. There is a heavy load of birth and death, heavy load caused by likes and dislikes, and because of that, he keeps on sinking. And how does it sink? Sanyujyate viyujyate cha. Gets connected to different people at a different type, with different relationships, with different role to be played with all of them. Just get connected to the spouse, connected, get to your children, connected, get to your office, connected, get to your neighbor. This is all Ishvara's design. You are connected. But then these connections are taken to be so real, and that causes dukkham, and that causes karma, phala, chakra, etc. And therefore he says, Anishaya shochati mukhyam. This fellow is grieving. Why grieving? Each one has their own subjective vision of successful life. My definition of success. Each one has it. It's purely subjective. Based on this definition, they keep pursuing the world, want to restructure the people, the situation, what is available, etc. That all they do. And then the desire to restructure, desire to change is so many, cannot fulfill it. That generates the sense of helplessness. Another thing is, the helplessness is caused because there are a number of desires, nth number of desires, and keeps changing, giving rise to new desires. And there are both types of desires, what I want and what I don't want. I don't want this thing, I want only that thing. And that is never achieved. Since it is not achieved ever, there is a frustration within. One doesn't get always what one wants. Much less one cannot avoid what one doesn't want. You get stuck with what you don't want. And you are stuck with sometimes other thing than which you really don't want it. And you are never stuck with the thing that I want. What I am gaining is very little, and what I am not gaining is looming huge and large, so many things. Swamiji would say, nobody likes gray hair. Nobody likes wrinkles, nobody likes aging, nobody likes weakness. All that comes, whether you like it or not. So, because of these limitations, desirable and undesirable being endless, so, and not easy to get the desirable always and avoid the undesirable. And therefore, there is always a feeling, that I have to compromise. I end up getting what I never wanted it. And I end up not getting what I really wanted it, This is all because of identification with the Sthula Sukshma Sharira. There is a sense of smallness, sense of being nobody, sense of being limited that is there, and I am incapable. That feeling, that sense always looms at the background music. I am incapable, I am limited. Now, another helplessness in modern days is in terms of relationship. The human heart constantly carries a feeling that nobody understands me. They always a feeling. Husband think the wife doesn't understand me, and wife think that husband doesn't understand me. In the process, we don't understand who understands to whom and what they understand about each other. That creates another misunderstanding in our mind, So, that Anisha, that sense of helplessness continues. And I cannot change the things. And if I think by changing environment, I'll be happy, the change would necessitate another change. It's always there. And that being case, there is a feeling also in relationships. Nobody understands me, They don't, neither the office also. My boss doesn't understand. I am the one who does the thing. And boss should give me rise, but it doesn't give. My colleagues don't understand me because I am very sharp and very foresighted person. And of course, my subordinate don't understand me. So that feeling is all the way is there. That is causing the helplessness, No, that gives rise to despair and sometimes frustration, and irritation, and anger towards oneself. That adds to anisha. Anisha means the absence of sense of overlordship. I don't call all the shots. I am limited. That sense, that is because of muhyamana. Anishaya shochati yad muhyamana. Muhyamana means deluded. What is the delusion? Our wrong ideas, wrong values, and our own in disproportionate investment in our ideas and our views and our feelings. That thing makes you feel more helpless. Because this person compartmentalizes the life. This fellow should be like this, that fellow should be like that, that should be like that. Compartmentalize. And that is never fulfilled. You don't get, as I said, what you want. You end up in getting what I never wanted. So it's always compromising myself. It's always there is carrying a pain within. It's okay, but that but is a big but. It carries every person carries the things, And so this is because of that picture of successful eye. Who is successful eye? So much of money, so much of power, so much of status, position, recognition. There's all there. Then I am successful. Searching a successful eye, and which you never become, and if at all became for a very short time, so that gives a sense of helplessness towards myself all along the life. Therefore, avichakashit, tayoranya, samane vruksham, anishaya shochat. That helplessness keeps a sense of grief. The fellow is always grieving. It is not a given incident. Loss of a near and dear one or some loss of something causes the grief. It is lack of understanding about certain facts, lack of understanding about Ishvara to some extent causes this kind of lamentation. You need to understand it, Ishvara. And then he says, Yada justam pashyati isham. Justam isham. Justam means what? Which is worshipped, which is adorable, which is desirable. When he gains that pashyati, knows that Ishvara. When he recognizes that Ishvara, and it recognizes his mahimanam, his glory, then he becomes vita shoka. He becomes free from grief and pain, He becomes free from grief. Now, when does it happen? Shankaracharya adds this vakya. What is anishaya? Na kasyachit samartho asmi. I am not capable of for anything. Again, તમે હાવ કામના નથી, કોઈ કામના જ નથી તમે. હાવ નકામા જ છો. એટલે તો ચારી હારે હાલે જ હવે. નહીં તો કીધું બાજુ પર મૂકી દીધી. The fellow may feel like saying it. But anyway, that anishaya. And then Shankaracharya writes, Muhyaman, aneka prakare arthahi, anarthahi, getting different janmas. Jiva bhavapan, kadachit. Listen, somehow, someday, aneka janmasu shuddha dharma sanchitta nimittitaha. Kenachit paramakárugnikena darshita yoga margaha ahimsa satya brahmacharya sarvatyaga shamdamadi sampanna samahita atma sanna justam pashyati. Yada pashyati, when they see or recognize, but when? Before background is this. So many janmas punya rectifies. Aneka janma shuddha sanchita nimitta. Many janmas purely good and purely dharma karya. And the punya accrued on them, all that punya is given to this fellow, this person. Then what happens? Because of that punya prakopa, because he got those lots of punya, then he comes across a guru, and guru somehow agrees to teach out of compassion. Kadachit, kenachit, guruna. He comes about karun, and what kind of guru? Paramakarya kena, darshita yoga marga. He teaches him yoga, means ahimsa, satya, brahmacharya, sarvadharma, tyaga, shamadamadi, and endowed with at samahita chittasan, when he is endowed with a mind which is free from conflicts and doubts, endowed with a mind which is together, that person, when the teacher teaches him the Shastra, yoga margahi, karmi vihischa, yasmin kale pashyati. How does he see? Nididhyasanam, keeps doing nididhyasanam. Because of nididhyasanam, he sees what? Vruksha upadhi lakshanad vilakshanam isham asamsarinam apashyan ashanaya pipase pipasa shoka moha jara mrityu atitam isham. One who knows What does he teach? The teacher, and how does he see? To see the dhyayamana, doing contemplation all the time. And that contemplation is possible when you have done a lot of karma yoga. So that means you live in the awareness of Ishvara, and you have been meditating in Nididhyasanam, doing Nididhyasanam to own up the knowledge. Then he gets a right guru who gives him, who sort of smoothens the sharp edges of his antakaranam by certain teachings and certain disciplines the teacher gives. And this fellow has the Shraddha and Brahmacharya. He himself becomes a very together person, and then he surrenders to him and gains the knowledge. Then what happens? Asamsarinam pashyati. That Ishaha Justam, very wonderful, very worshipful Jiva Ishvara. He sees that it is what kind of vision. And what happens to him? Then it is said, when he sees, there manav mogatitam isham sarvasya jagataha aham ayam aham asmi atma. This, the one who is the cause of entire creation is me. I am, his Atma is me. I am the self of all that. Sarvasya samaha. I am same in all the Bhutas. And even if I abide in all the Bhutas, Sarva Bhutastopi, na itaraha avidya janitaha upadhi parichinnaha mama maya atma iti vibhutim mahimanam pashyati. That fellow sees the glory of the Ishvara. You know, what glory of the Ishvara? That Ishvara is non-separate from me. I am one with that Ishvara. When that is seen, he or she becomes free from shoka, grief, any kind of grief. How does it become the free? So one becomes a free by knowing that this is apparent. This is for the time being, and that will be rare like that, but this is not the real. That recognition may make a feeling, or that recognition is apparentness, knowing the apparentness of the nature. And then because of that apparentness, he meditates and realizes that aham brahmasmi, that the jivatvam is only incidental. Status of enjoyership, doership is only incidental. It is nothing to do with me doing anything. Okay. And then tamasah puraha paraya. He sees that Purusha, having recognized or gained that Purusha, he becomes free from Vita Shoka. There is no Shoka delivery. Shoka delivered by people to me, delivered by my own body to me, delivered by my karma phala. There is a pain, but this fellow recognizes that which is given to me, that which has come to me is apparent. So, wise person having shoka is apparent, wise person experiencing shoka is apparent, and the experiencer is also apparent. That recognition itself is the freedom, that recognition. And Vita shokaha bhavati, shokatigo bhavati. So many shabdas and mantra vakyas are there on this statement. And Mahimanam Isha. With this, we conclude with this mantra today, and we'll see the next mantra in the next class. The Mohyamanaha is there is no clear vision of life. In a sense, the goal of life is not clear, and they have not discerned the problem as to what exactly am I looking for. Do I want a thing, a situation or people, or do I want a permanent happiness, permanent sense of at homeness with everybody? That clarity is not there. And that means the covering of the Maya is so powerful that he or she thinks that this by gaining some money or power or position or connection, my all problems will be solved. Like if I go to America, my all problems are solved. That's the pipeline thinking. You cannot solve. There are different types of problems will come. So this momuhyamana has no clarity about the goal. First clarity is one should recognize that dharma is a goal of human existence. And for dharma means performing the duties. And secondly, while performing, there is acknowledgement of Ishvara. I am doing this for Ishvara's praptyartha, the grace of Ishvara. So all these actions are performed when if dharma is a goal of life, and if backed by these actions, this attitude, later on one may gain necessary Shuddhanta Karanam, and thereby one is qualified for moksha. But this is order. That is Samane Vrikshe Parishasvajate Tayoran Yatha Pashyater. So this is different one. When he sees that Ishvara, seeing is knowing, not physically seeing. And for that you need a teacher to unfold the Shastra to you, and a commitment on your own part also to adhere to the timing, prioritize my studies. That is 24/7 job. And that will take him to recognition of this Purusha, recognition of Mayopadi Ishvara. And when that recognition is gained, he becomes Vita Shokaha, becomes free from any kind of grief, any kind of sense of helplessness. Helplessness is accepted as incidental. There is no real helplessness to the consciousness, because consciousness being available there, and therefore the helplessness. Person didn't have that this thing, and therefore helplessness, and helplessness is there many which way, being limited. But this fellow knows, limited I will continue to be. And that is not my real nature. It is an apparent thing. Let me enjoy it by myself. So that is a state of mind. Not that he or she becomes free from them. He knows that they are apparent, and he knows that they are mithya. And therefore he or she conducts himself in this vyavahara. Have an experience of all those kinds of experience, but they are never swerved by it. They are never taken away by it. That is called Pashyati. Next mantra we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.